For my product treescale.com, today I wanted to make a tutorial about how to use Treescale with the YouTube transcript, and that it just hit me that I kind of never built a Next.js API around downloading YouTube videos or downloading the YouTube transcript. We are going to make today a simple Next.js API endpoint that will download the YouTube video with the highest quality possible on the YouTube, and also download the YouTube transcript to later use that with the Treescale API. All the code base we will try to generate with ChatGPT that will speed up our coding process. Of course, it's not giving the entire coding script to have it ready to run in production, but it will speed up our development time, and I'm going to show how I generally use ChatGPT with software development and rapidly prototyping these kind of APIs. So let's jump into it. This is a standard Next.js application setup without anything to consider. The command that I use to create this project is actually the standard one. It's a create next app, and I'm gonna release this code to GitHub for the later reference if you want to check that out. To get started with the API implementation, let's first launch the Next.js application itself. So see, this is the standard Next.js view. I haven't changed anything, and we're actually not going to use any UI elements here. We are just interested in the API request itself, which is going to be generated by the ChatGPT help. So here we have just a hello world HTTP request that Next.js provides by default. I'm gonna just create an HTTP request file, which is also available in VS Code if you are using VS Code. I believe that should be available even by default without an HTTP client, but here in WebStorm that's enabled by default. So I'm gonna make the GET request to HTTP localhost 3000. So GitHub autopilot makes the wrong autocomplete here, and I'm gonna use the standard API for Next.js, which is API hello, based on the references we have, and let's send the HTTP request. See, we sent and got back a response from Next.js API endpoint, which is the hello endpoint code base that we have with its standard response. So we have pretty much everything we need for now to get started with the product, because we are going to use just an API here. For now, we don't need anything else. So now we have to switch back to our ChatGPT screen and to see how we can generate code for downloading YouTube videos and transcript. Let's see how ChatGPT does the work, and we will try to reuse code base later on. The prompt is going to be pretty simple. We are going just to ask to generate the API endpoint for Next.js, which will use some libraries to download YouTube videos and download the transcript and save that as a local file. Let's see how it actually does the job for us. And the important part here is that it saves the local files to videos folder and uses the unique ID generation for keeping the video files in local directory. Let's see how it actually does the job and generates code for us. I don't think it's gonna be kind of useful to just copy paste and use it, but in general, like it just gives an cool instructions on how to install libraries and what libraries to use. That makes our lives a lot easier. So we got a pretty good results actually. So let's first install the npm packages that we need here. I'm gonna keep this simple. So, and see, it uses the YouTube download core, which is supposed to be a library, but see, the transcript API is wrong actually. So there is no YouTube transcript API. Okay, so YouTube transcript API is actually the Python library. For npm, it should be YouTube transcript. It's not YouTube transcript API. So yeah, as you can see, it's not like perfect copy paste, but still it makes a lot sense kind of to use ChatGPT to generate those kind of things. So let's see how the code base actually looks, and I'm gonna just hit copy paste here what we got from an actual code base, and see like it actually made it wrong with the YouTube transcript. Let's see the documentation. So this library seems to be the one that we need to use it. Like, let's change this function to this one, and actually transcript becomes an array. We probably need just the first transcript response, and let's see if transcript response, yeah, it contains a text that we need. Okay, so now we got rid of the errors, and seems the code base looks okay-ish, and there is a couple of things that we need to change still, because we have this file write sync, which does the file writing synchronously. I'm gonna change these to promises, because with the new API, it actually makes code base to work a lot smoother. I'm gonna import the rest as fsync, just to use this code base and create a video directory when we don't have it available on locals. And of course, creating a write stream is not available for promises. But here the part that we need is actually write file, which should be a promise for not blocking the IO. And the response body is file downloaded, and here's the file name. And another thing is that we have to actually keep the same CUID, which is going to be file ID, which does pretty good job actually by naming the MP4 and TXT. So I don't have complaints over that. I guess everything is fine. So we can go ahead and try to use it actually to see how it does the job. So it expects us to send in request parameters a query which says a video ID. I'm gonna grab one of my videos actually to see if it does the job of fetching transcripts as well, and let's see how it works. So yeah, it created a videos directory and got back the video ID, but the transcript file is empty. So I'm gonna try another video file to see if the transcript exists or not. Let's see how does it work the second time. And yeah, we got pretty good response time another time. And yeah, transcript still empty. So seems it doesn't actually fetch the transcript. Something is wrong with the code base. So we got this transcript array as a response. So should be, I guess, connected somehow. So we have transcripts. Let's try to do this. And transcripts map. So we probably need to join all the texts as a separate list of arrays, join it by the new line. So let's see if we can actually do that. So we have to make first. So let's try it now with the new way of doing, because it seems we were getting only one transcript And now when we try, yeah, we got entire transcript here available already. So this actually brings back the question of how reliable this code base could be, because we actually haven't changed that much. The only thing that we changed is the tweaking the library a bit, but the rest seems to be pretty fine, because it actually just creates the right stream, which is the correct way of fetching downloading videos, and it doesn't block the entire the node runtime to actually save files. So everything works as an asynchronous API. That's pretty much what we needed in terms of API request, and that's very basic in terms of getting just the video ID. But another cool part is that let's try to make this a bit more robust and ask to make a video instead of receiving a video ID. Also, this should work with receiving a video URL. So I'm gonna ask make this endpoint to handle also a video URL, not only the video ID. And let's see how it actually changes the code, because it's supposed to just extract a video ID from given URL if the ID is not available in the queries. But sometimes it just does weird things. So yeah, see, it actually assumed that we have to get also video ID and video URL. That will make a lot sense now, just to parse those. So from the perspective of code, this looks really good. And I'm gonna just copy paste these parts. I don't think we need any extra information here. So here uses some URL parser, which is available in a node by default. So now we can throw into this request the video URL as well. But the important part here is that because we are generating file name all the time, it actually keeps downloading the same video files without considering that it might be the same video. So now I'm gonna just change here to accept instead of file ID, accept the final video ID, because that makes more sense to keep videos with the same ID so that it will be easier to fetch later on. And here for the transcript, we actually have to keep the transcripts not as a standard text file, but instead we should save this as a JSON, because later on when we read transcript, we actually need to know exact timestamps for the transcripts. So we are going to convert this into a standard JSON file, saying that let's make a JSON stringify transcripts, and without any extra information. So we actually need to have it as a JSON. So now if we send a request, it will just download and keep also transcripts as a JSON file, where we have pretty much everything with the duration and the time offsets that later on we can cut video and send that to other services to respond. That was a very simple implementation of YouTube downloader and the script downloader from YouTube API. You don't even need any API keys to do all this work, because YouTube data generally available public. Of course, if you are not using that with the wrong licensing. But of course, for personal usage for this type of tutorials, it's totally fine to just code with the APIs and see how the functionality works, because later on you can just use that same code base for your own application features.